an amazing story. During the war, a Soviet officer managed to create one of the most successful partisan units in France. Young commander Vasily Porik died at the age of 24, but in his short life, he became a symbol of fierce resistance against the Nazis. He died 3 times and was born 4 times. He had 5 names, 2 mothers and 2 fathers. This is how Vladlen Travinsky described the elusive hero in his book, Duel with the Gestapo. The German occupiers offered 200,000 francs for Porik's head. How did Lieutenant Vasily Porik manage to establish a partisan base right under the enemy's nose in a concentration camp? 180 kilometers from Paris lies the small commune of Hénin-Beaumont. Its main attractions are ancient churches, the ruins of a medieval castle, and a monument to a Soviet officer in the local cemetery. This monument is dedicated to Porik, Lieutenant Porik, who, during the Great Patriotic War, found himself a prisoner of the Hitlerites and was directly transported to the territory of France, where he was held in a prisoner of war camp. On June 10, 1941, Vasily Porik graduated from the Kharkov Infantry School. The skills and knowledge he acquired, the young lieutenant had to apply in practice just 12 days later. And accordingly, he met the war, like many others, in the summer of 1941, and accordingly, in one of the battles, he was wounded and taken prisoner, and according to German rules, those taken prisoner were first sent to a transit camp, a Gulag, and then to the main camp. And so he ended up on the territory of France. His comrades and relatives considered Vasily Porik dead. After the war, researchers of his feat would write, "This was the first death of the hero, but far from the last." In the summer of 1942, the Soviet officer ended up in the Beaumont concentration camp in the Pas-de-Calais department in northern France. He, of course, should have ended up in a camp for officers. There were such camps, called Oflags. But the thing is, he understood what his life could end like. He did not reveal that he was an officer, and, moreover, that he was a member of the Communist Party. Therefore, he ended up with ordinary servicemen, with enlisted men and non-commissioned officers in the camp. In total, there were about 1,000 Soviet citizens in the Beaumont camp. Not only prisoners of war, but also civilians, mostly young men, abducted from the occupied territories to work. All of them labored in local coal mines. The labor was slave labor in the literal sense. People worked 14 to 18 hours a day. They were fed a thin soup made from turnips. And, in fact, there was practically no bread, and what they had could not be called bread. The strongest survived. The majority of people perished. But credit must be given to Porik. Before the Great Patriotic War, he was involved in sports, was a very strong and robust young man, one might even say, an athletic young man, and this set him apart from all the others. The young lieutenant conceived a daring plan. He decided to turn the mechanism of oppression against the oppressors themselves to lull the vigilance of the guards. Vasily Porik began to ingratiate himself with the Nazis. He pretended to curry favor with the Germans. He said that the camp had very proper order, which should not be violated, and on the contrary, all the demands made by the Hitlerites should be followed. After some time, he became the senior barrack leader, and then, effectively, the senior of the entire camp. After some time, the Hitlerites trusted him, and he was allowed to go into the city. And in the city, he began to seek contacts with the resistance movement. When Porik made contact with French underground fighters and secured their support, he gathered around him a group of trusted and strong prisoners who were eager to avenge the fascists. For their exemplary behavior and diligent work, they were also occasionally allowed to leave the camp. From such men, including experienced Red Army soldiers, a partisan cell was formed. They had no weapons, and since they needed to train those who did not know how to shoot, initially the training was conducted remotely. They simply drew something and explained it to them. Then, with the help of communists, Porik managed to smuggle weapons directly into the camp, and training began there. The Germans attached particular importance to the Pas-de-Calais department. Here on the coast, the large-scale construction of the Atlantic Wall was underway. With this system of fortifications, the Third Reich hoped to prevent the invasion of Allied forces onto the continent. The Germans considered northern France to be a deep rear. But suddenly, the peaceful life of the occupiers turned into hell. The partisan unit of prisoners of war, which Vasily Porik named after his legendary namesake, the Red Army commander Vasily Chapayev, made its first sortie in the autumn of 1943. They decided to attack a German transport moving along the road. According to some reports, there were up to 50 men from the SS units who were killed or wounded in this unexpected attack. Rich trophies were taken, which were later used to arm themselves for further combat operations. In addition to captured weapons, they used explosives from the mines. The Chapayev unit carried out more and more daring sorties. By the end of 1943, the partisans had blown up 13 trains with German equipment, burned 5 military warehouses, destroyed several kilometers of telegraph lines, and killed up to 1,000 Hitlerite soldiers and officers. The Gestapo and the SS were simply shocked. Partisans were operating in the city, inflicting serious damage on the German troops, and no one could understand where this unit could be located or how the diversions were even carried out, where the weapons came from and how the attacks were conducted. Eventually, the unit of prisoners of war managed to overpower the guards and escape from the concentration camp. Soon, Vasily Porik led the resistance movement throughout northern France. Under his leadership, the partisans carried out large-scale sabotage in the enemy's rear and liberated entire cities from the occupiers. This unit inflicted colossal damage on the Hitlerites. About 3,000 Germans were killed, 77 locomotives, and around 1,000 wagons were derailed, and the damage was comparable to the actions of a serious military unit, not prisoners of war on occupied territory. On April 24, 1944, Vasily Porik, along with a small group of comrades, encountered a German patrol during another sortie. An unequal battle ensued. The partisans had to retreat. When the group hid in a safe house, Porik sent the youngest of his fighters to scout the situation. He was only 16 and had little experience. He went out into the city with a weapon and was caught by the Germans. Under torture, he revealed the location where the partisans were hiding. The house was immediately surrounded. Vasily Porik fought to the last bullet, but eventually received 2 wounds, one in the arm and one in the shoulder, after which he lost consciousness. The Gestapo rejoiced. They had managed to capture the elusive avenger alive. The prisoner was taken to the prison in the city of Arras, where he was interrogated under torture for 2 days. The partisan unit commander did not betray his comrades. The fortress where he was imprisoned was famous for the fact that not a single prisoner had escaped from it in 6 centuries. But the wounded Vasily Porik managed to do so. Despite all the beatings he had endured, Porik saw a nail in the wall and pulled it out with his teeth. He opened the handcuffs, removed the shackles that hindered his actions, broke the rather sturdy grate, and then simulated illness. He began to cry out and ask for help. A German soldier entered. Porik quickly strangled the soldier and escaped from the prison. The Germans were in shock. Later, French newspapers wrote, "Only the devil could escape from these dungeons." After this, Vasily Porik was nicknamed the Immortal. But soon, death caught up with him. The Gestapo searched for the partisan unit commander throughout northern France. His portrait hung on almost every pole, and on July 22, 1944, Porik was caught. According to one version, he was betrayed by one of the former Soviet citizens. According to another version, the Germans tracked him down and ambushed him while he was riding a bicycle. Considering that it was already 1944, the Germans understood that their end was near. There were no long ceremonies. He was shot. By the way, as far as I remember, he was the last to be executed in France. In France, a park in the small town of Grenay, where the partisan unit commander hid after escaping from captivity, was named after Vasily Porik, and in his homeland he was posthumously awarded the title of Hero of the Soviet Union. He became the only officer of the Red Army to receive the highest distinction for his participation in the French resistance.